Welcome to your sports betting and NBA fantasy basketball report for Monday, March the 2nd, brought to you by offshoreinsiders.com, www.offshoreinsiders.com. Free picks, news, and notes coming up. Today's one of the most consequential days for sports gamblers of 2015 or any day in any year for that matter. Mr. Pro Basketball Stevie Vincent off a 2-1 Sunday. Today, level 5 on the collegiate hardwood, but nobody comes remotely close to picking pro basketball winners at the rate that TGO does. Nobody. Get the enterprise solution perfect play of the year among three perfect plays in pro basketball. Perfect plays are feared by the bookmakers. This means an angle that's 100% and involves a minimum of 12 games. We always unlock the angle inside the play, Stevie Vincent says. It's all at www.offshoreinsiders.com, a worldwide pandemic warning issued to all bookmakers. www.offshoreinsiders.com, Stevie Vincent. Toronto and Philadelphia. Philadelphia is playing back-to-back and 3 games in 4 days, though Toronto is playing 3 games in 4 days themselves, although not back-to-back. Toronto, Kyle Lowry is questionable. He is the 12th most efficient point guard according to the Hollinger ratings. In 58 games this year, 18 points per game, 4.6 rebounds, and 7 assists. Toronto has dropped 4 straight, 4 by 10.5 or more, and their average sweat barometer during that span, minus 14.1. Again, that means they're covering, not straight up, but covering by 14.1 points per game. All records we quote are against the spread unless we specify over-under, such as this. The Raptors have gone over 15 straight by an average of 17.77 points per game on the road, with at most a day of rest off of a game in which at least 6 players scored 10 or more points as a favorite. Phoenix and Miami. Miami playing 3 games in 4 days, while Phoenix is well rested. The Suns' Brandon Knight, though, is questionable. Knight, the 18th most effective point guard in the league. 57 games, he averages 17.4 points per game, 4 rebounds, 5.3 assists. Suns are 38-14 with at least 1 day of rest after a loss in which they're off of a game in which they scored at least 10 points fewer in the first quarter than they did in the fourth quarter. On the other hand, Miami 2-19 after Mario Chalmers had a positive plus-minus rating. Golden State and Brooklyn. Warriors back-to-back 3 games in 4 days. Brooklyn is playing 3 games in 4 days as well. Now listen to this. Teams are 11-44-1 since November 27, 2009 as a home dog with at least 1 day of rest after a double-digit win in which they scored 10 or fewer fast break points. Now this would say to fade Brooklyn and hence bet on Golden State. Listen to this over-under trend. Teams have gone under at a rate of 896 and 735 since March 29th of 2000 with at least 1 day of rest after a win on the road, which they shot at least 50% from the field. Now, obviously, that angle would favor the under here, and we're going to ride it. That's a pretty statistically significant one. Free winner is from Joe Duffy's Picks. Free winner from Joe Duffy's Picks to go with Brooklyn under. Once again, Brooklyn under. Clippers in Minnesota. Clippers are playing back to them. By the way, you play fantasy sports. Go to offshoreinsiders.com. Please click on the fantasy sports and sportsbook link at the top of the page. You will support this podcast. You support us. We will give you more and more free information. Clippers playing back-to-back in 3 games in 4 days. Minnesota playing 3 games in 4 days as well. Clippers without Blake Griffin. They're 6-2, though, without him going under 4 straight. He is the second-best power forward in the NBA, according to the Hollinger ratings. 51 games, 22.5 points, 7.5 rebounds, 5.1 assists. Clippers have gone over 27-5 going back to March 8th of 2003 on the road with at most 1 day of rest after a game on the road in which they shot less, on a game in which less than 45% of their baskets were assisted. So the Clippers are going over at a 27-5 rate. New Orleans and Dallas, the Pelicans back-to-back 3 games in 4 days. New Orleans' Anthony Davis is out. They've managed somehow to cover 5 in a row without him. Davis rated the /1 most efficient player in the entire NBA at any position. The Pels have now gone over, or they're now, 14-8 against the spread, of course, as we said, without Drew Holiday. Dallas, Chandler Parsons is questionable. They've gone under all 6 without him. Support the podcast. If you're listening to us on iTunes or Stitcher, please give us a 5-star. If you're listening to the simulcast on YouTube, please give us a like, retweet us. However, you can remember, follow us on Twitter at Offshore Insider, singular there at Offshore Insider. Help us with exposure, and we will give you more and more free information. It's really that simple.